You're listening to Radio Primavera Sound, proudly presented by Cupra.
Hello and welcome to Line Noise. Here with Gábor Lázár. How are you doing?
Fine. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. I hope I pronounced your name in a vaguely presentable kind of way.
That's nice.
So you are here. We're at MIRA, backstage, and you're here presenting your latest album, Reflex. How do you think it feels into it? How do you think it fits into your catalogue?
Good question. That could be a long answer and a short one, but I think let's stick to the short one. I think there's a quiet process in my discography, starting from kind of If you listen to my first couple of albums, they are like monophonic pieces. And this is more like polyphonic. So it's like I use a lot of samples, I use a lot of sound synthesis techniques. So it's like a real composition with a lot of layers together. But my recent albums were like just one synthesizer and playing with one synthesizer on the whole album. But this is more like a little bit more traditional way of composing, having different percussions and synthesizers and playing even chords and playing some melodies. So it's like this kind of polyphonic music instead of just playing with one synthesizer and trying to find some super interesting details or whatever, you know.
Well, I'm interested in the idea of playing with one synthesizer. I know this is not for this album, but do you find, like, in a way, the limitations almost help in, like, because there are infinite possibilities, whereas if you've got one synthesizer, you're like, right, I've got to find something in this.
Absolutely, limitation is one of my favorite things, but I can use as a kind of tool to organize what I am doing. But you can use limitation in many different ways. You can use it by saying, I'm going to use only one synthesizer, or you can use limitation like saying, I'm using 3 synthesizers, but I'm using only this and this parameter. So there are different kinds of ways of limiting the environment in which you find your own creative way to organize what you want to do. And it's interesting to figure out or try out different ways of limitations because they create different environments. So in these different environments, you find different results, and it's interesting, and I enjoy doing this, actually.
But you compose using MaxMSP, right?
Yeah.
What do you like about MaxMSP? Because that seems to me to be the kind of the opposite, no? Like the infinite possibility.
Yeah. And it took me a while to narrow down the possibilities, but when you start learning, actually you know that you have a lot of possibilities, but you don't know how to work with these possibilities because you are just trying to learn it. So in the first couple of months or years, you start working only with one couple of small tools inside MaxMSP, and then you build around that. So it starts with a limitation instead of immediately having everything, because it's an infinite kind of environment in which you can do whatever you want. But if you cannot handle the tools, then basically you are limited. And when you start to learn, it's actually a limitation, which is kind of motivating, and like you want to learn and you want to find a way in this environment to do something, even despite that you don't know how to do it. And that's the drive what makes you learn how to do things.
And you said that you build compositional interfaces in Max. As someone who hasn't used the program, what does that mean? What is a compositional interface?
Well, it's like saying this is more like for people who don't know what is it, because like the interface, everybody what is an interface? You interact with this kind of graphical interface, which means that there's a lot of connection between these buttons, and there's a process behind, and everybody knows that, can imagine that what is behind. So basically what I am doing, I'm building systems which create music. Well, I create the music, but they help. This kind of, it's like a modular synthesizer, but not limited to those things what the modular synthesizer is doing. But it's on a different level and doing different things. But it's like a network of mechanisms, what they work together and kind of bring me different results in different situations and help me to find or discover unexpected situations in music.
Going back to Reflex, you said that at first you didn't really know what the album was about. Is that how you normally start off recording an album, or do you sometimes have an idea right from the start?
Well, when I recorded the album, I already know.
Right.
I already did know what is it about. But when I started to, it's like a couple of months long process to find the way of what you want to do, actually. I mean, you know what you want to do, but there's a lot of different ways of doing that. So it takes a couple of months to make sure that this is what you believe in. This is what you really want to do, and you have to try all kinds of aspects and all kinds of techniques to really think that, okay, this is what I want to release because this is good. And it's a long process, and in the beginning you are not sure. I'm not sure. It's like I think this is what studio work is about, to kind of experiment with things and then see what's coming out.
I mean, was there like a eureka moment where you were suddenly like, I know what this is? Or was it more gradual?
Sorry, again?
Was there like a eureka moment in making the album where you're like, that's it? Or...
No, actually, and honestly, I was not 100% sure about the album when it was released. And it took me like another 6 months or 8 months to listen it again and again and realize that actually it's okay. It's...
Are you always that harsh on your work? I mean,
yeah.
It's a great album, So the tracks are real-time recordings, correct?
Yeah.
Kind of like you set them up, and almost like you play a live set, right? I mean, in fact, the album opener event is a live recording, right? Why did you take that?
Actually, only Unfold and Source are my two albums which are not real-time recordings. All the other albums are based on MaxMSP and real-time recordings out of MaxMSP. So what was the question?
Why do you do it like that?
Because that's the environment. Because it's it's a living kind of system which generates variations of those patterns and of those kind of micro compositions what I'm doing. And then, I take like 10 minutes of recordings and then cut off the beginning and the end when I hear like, okay, this is nice, and then I cut off some parts and then that's it.
So does that mean like your live set, which is what you're doing today, is very closely related to...
Actually, it's the same thing if I would be in the studio and press the record button. So it's the same thing.
Oh, right.
So imagine if there's a there are a lot of instruments, or there's a band who has a kind of agreement like what they want to do and how they want to improvise, and they can do it infinitely. They record an album of doing this, and then they go live, and then they do it again. So that's what I'm doing.
But do you ever like... Okay, this may be a terrible question. Do you ever play a song live, and then you're like, that version was the version. That's the version I should have released.
Yeah. And actually, one of these... So it's happened. The first track of the album, called Event, is a live recorded version of when I was in Modena in Italy, and yeah, the technician recorded the whole set, and I cut out my favorite part, and that's actually the second part of the track which was released on the album. So like if you listen, it's like, I don't know, 5 minutes long track. From the third minute until the end, it's a live recording from a performance.
Why do you think that gig in Modena? Why did it work? Like,
I don't know. I just liked the combinations of these patterns and even the melodies, and yeah.
I find it very interesting, like, because you said that it wasn't until 6 months later you realised that you liked the album, and you know you're playing the same tracks live. Do you find it quite hard to sort of let an album go? You know, like release it and okay, that's it. I'm finished. That's what we're going to release. Or are you always like thinking, well, that could be a bit better? Or
yeah, I think it's always like it could be better, but there's a point when you have to say like, okay, this is it now.
Yes,
because an album is not it's not the perfection. An album is just a documentation where you are at now, and artists have to realize that this is not about being perfect. It's about just saying that this is it now, and it's gonna be different a couple of years later, or even worse, or even better, whatever. But this is it now, you know.
See, I totally agree with that, because when there have been instances of artists coming back, all kinds of different artists, and changing albums, and like, no, like there was one recently this week, I think it was the 1975, and they were like, we've removed this song from our album on streaming because we don't like it. And I don't like it when artists do that. It's just like, no, look, just leave it. That's kind of the album.
And obviously it's there are different aspects, like how the person is judging his own work, or how the audience is looking at it. So it's completely different. And obviously the artist is like, okay, it's not good enough, or it's old, or it's whatever. But for people from the audience, they are like, it could be their favorite track, you know.
Do you think you're a good judge of your own music?
These are quite complicated questions. like being at a therapy, or you know,
lie down on the couch.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'll explain what the reason I ask is because there's a history, I think, of artists who make songs, and there's one song that knocks it out in an afternoon. They don't particularly like it, and that becomes like the hit. And I sometimes wonder. I sometimes think it must be difficult for artists who know their music better than anyone. It's their music, but like to actually to be able to take that step back in a way and judge it. That was kind of why I asked, Ren.
Yeah, that's a challenge. I don't know. I mean, probably we grow up and then and then you know realize that you don't have to judge yourself that much. You know, I don't know.
Going back to Max briefly, does it sort of give a slightly random edge to what you do? Like unexpected things come out?
Yeah, it's just there's this kind of thing like limitation. Even if there's a probability of different outcomes, it's kind of controlled randomness. So it's actually not randomness. So you can hear these rhythmic variations which are basically composed, and then there are different techniques applied on the composed patterns, and these techniques creates variations, but they create the variations in a way that they keep the kind of style of the pattern. So you know what I mean?
I think so, yeah.
And during the I don't call them composition because it's just a take, it's just a recording of an infinite stream. So if you look at the track which was released, there are different sections in it actually where you can hear like, oh, maybe I heard this kind of variations already. It's because these variations are following each other and then repeating themselves sometimes in a different combination, but your brain is unable to create that long memory of these combinations, so you don't realize that sometimes it's the same thing, but actually you feel like it's a kind of infinitely, it could be infinitely generated, but there is no sense. And also I think my experience, like as I listen to music, I realize that sometimes I feel like maybe I already heard this little bit already, and then, but the whole thing feels like a kind of infinite variation, but it's obviously not. So your brain is confused, and I think when your brain is confused, that's when you are interested.
Well, it's interesting. This is what I get from your music. Is it is slightly confusing, and I mean that in a good way, because for me, it sort of plays with the standard things you might expect of dance music, but like just not quite, just like that sort of little bit different. You know, is that a kind of fair description?
I don't like descriptions about music. You know, it's like a review, a short review of what is it about. But yeah, I use this kind of, it's stupid to say, but you know, this kind of techno sound, because I'm coming from this background. I've been DJing and I've been listening a lot of techno music, whatever. And so that's my kind of background. So that's why I'm using this kind of techno-ish sound. But this way of organizing the rhythmic part is kind of, I don't know, the direction in which I want to push things.
You don't DJ anymore, right?
Not really. Maybe in house parties for friends.
But you used to a lot when you were younger, like kind of.
Yeah.
What did you play?
What did I play?
Yeah, like what kind of stuff, like techno or?
Yeah, absolutely. Like after midnight techno kind of things. Yeah. I bought records and collected some records and played. Like I was quite young when I started, like 15 years old, and I had older friends, and they introduced me to this kind of electronic music thing, and I started to buy records and started to play. And in Budapest, I played like when I was 17. So yeah.
Do you miss that at all?
Do I miss
DJing?
Yeah, I mean, not just DJing, but you know, this kind of teenage era of doing these kind of things. It obviously was a nice thing.
Well, look, thank you so much for speaking to me today. And I'm really looking forward to the live show. I think 11 tonight. Yeah, it's a beautiful hour.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
You're listening to Radio Primavera Sound, proudly presented by Cupra.